Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heal Thyself, my favorite show, hopefully your favorite show. Tuning in, bringing love to everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day and really opening yourself to learning all of this information and spreading it. What a beautiful thing we're doing here. All right. Last week, I got into the pillars of health, and they're something that I formulated over the years in my profession and my experience. And I put them together, and we went over half of them. This week, we're going to go over the other half. All equally as important, some more accessible than the others, but really I try to make them really easy so we can do them all. So I really, really hope that you all can just really hear these, let them sink in, let them marinate, and then start incorporating them in your life, all right? So without further ado, I'm really excited for this. Let's go into these pillars of health in the Knowledge Bomb. Pillar of health, number 7. All right, we already went over 6. Last show, number 7 is going to be grounding and earthing. How much you hear me talk about this? I talk about this because it's so cheap, so accessible, and so powerful, right? It's one of the cheapest interventions of all, and it's powerful, as I mentioned. 2012 study in the Environmental Public Health Journal, the authors state this: it is established, though not widely appreciated fact, that the Earth's surface possesses a limitless and continuous renewed supply of free and mobile electrons. The surface of the planet is electrically conductive, and its negative potential is maintained by the global atmospheric electrical circuit. All right, we know we're electrical beings, so this makes sense. So we know that grounding helps because of the electrical circuit. The Earth's ground, the surface is covered in it, which becomes conductive to us as energetic beings. So what do we notice it helps with? Sleep. Okay, we know it helps with circadian rhythms. Stress, it balances our cortisol, helps our parasympathetic nervous system balance, rest, and digest. I talked about that before in the last episode. Pain, it helps reduce pain in subjects in their subjective measures. Protects against electromagnetic disruptions, right? We're talking about EMFs. It's called the umbrella effect. It protects us. Improved heart rate variability, right? This is measures of stress response in the body. Reduction in inflammation, reduction in fasting glucose, a possible reduction in the primary indicators of osteoporosis, and a reduction in blood viscosity. That means the thickness in your blood. And we know that it helps immune function. It's cheap, accessible, and we can all do it, right? There's some things, there's some studies on grounding mats. A lot of people ask me about them. We know, at least in that study, that the best grounding mats are the ones that are connected to the outside, that are conducting outside. So I would think about those. I do need to do some more research on grounding mats, and I promise you I'll go over them. But as of now, get on a surface that is part of Earth. No cement, no blacktop, no stone. You want Earth's surface, right? You want to step on the dirt. You want to step on the beach. You want to step on the sand, wherever you can, okay? Number 8, light exposure. So important. This is piggybacking on the circadian rhythm point I talked about grounding, right? Light exposure speaks to our biology, right? Our cells run on these clocks, and their multiple systems in the body are getting signals from light. And the systems know what to do because of that light, right? Light exposure plays a massive role in delivering these information packets to our body. Right? In fact, it's actually the master influencer in that rhythm that we got going, right? It tells us when to wake, when to go to sleep. Oh, when digestion is great, when you really shouldn't be eating. So our body follows these biological clocks, these rhythms, right? And it needs to know what to do and when to do it. It needs to know when to activate this enzyme or this hormone or this cellular function. It's like an elegant symphony, right? The beginning of the song is the morning, and the end of the song is when you go to bed, right? But now imagine the cello and the flute player. They're on a different rhythm. So their information packets are off, right? So then go outside, get some sun, and you'll see their information packets are off. How's that symphony going to sound? Right? So the sun, you need to go outside and get some sun. The sun is everything in terms of health. Don't be afraid of it. Listen to the sun episode. I spoke about it, how to protect yourself. But make sure your eyes see the sun without glasses, without contacts. Preferably sunrise, and preferably morning sun, and preferably sunset. You want to get all of those stimulus throughout the day because of the wavelength influence, right? What it's provoking in your body. Really important, right? Get back closest to nature and see how your body reacts. Remember, we evolved like this with our feet on the ground, with light influencing our bodies, uh, following the rhythms of nature, right? And Matt Maruka did that one show on light. So go on back, check this out. Check it out if you want to see further into this. But regardless, get that light exposure, okay? Number 9, of course, diet. I wasn't going to miss that one. I don't know if you were worried about it, but I wasn't going to miss it. Diet, hydration, and fasting. Now, diet is so important. We know this. Lots of people make a dietary change and they call it a day. But diet can really be powerful because you can change your diet and start feeling good pretty damn fast. And it's one of the best ways for us to nourish our body or really to destroy our body. And it happens over time, right? Sometimes we don't even realize how our diet affects us because our body, human beings are amazing at adapting and adjusting. Our body gets used to it. And sometimes our new normal, we don't even realize it, right? We don't realize if we're getting better or worse. But dietarily, we evolved with different diets around the world. Ancestrally, we ate an abundance of food that was available to us. And it could be different than your coworker or your best friend, right? And it can be a sensitive subject to people. So let's say I go, yes, that's why you don't hear me going, yes, potatoes. Everyone eat potatoes. Potatoes are the best. Everyone needs it, right? Sure, it has potassium, magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin C, iron, but it can be super nutrient dense and helpful for some, but it also could spike your blood sugar, increase inflammation for others, right? So what I really say is get back in touch with your body, right? This is where a doctor can't help you, right? We can help formulate diets, but we can't help you get in touch with your body. That's on you. So get back in touch with what foods affect you and why and how. Write a journal, write a log, and see how what your symptoms are that day and what affects you, right? How close are you and how close it was to the meal. Right. And this is biochemical individuality, right? It's different for different people. So really start getting in touch with your body. If you need to do an elimination diet, that might be the easiest way, right? Go back to basics and start adding in foods and see all of a sudden, well, damn, potatoes I thought were doing great for me. I don't feel too good with potatoes. Elimination diet is a really easy way to start from scratch and then build up your diet. So, but I will say the obvious stuff. Throughout my shows, I talk about this all the time, but stay away from processed foods, simple carbs, dairy, sugar, sugary, syrupy soft drinks, pesticide foods. Remember the clean 15 and dirty dozen. Vegetable oils like soy, corn, canola, sunflower, safflower, right? Those high omega-6 oils that are going to increase inflammation. If you do eat meat, stay away from conventional cow, pig, chicken, or fish, and go with the higher quality ones, okay? And gluten, I'm going to say this, 20% of us on paper, 20% of us are going to react with gluten, even if we don't have celiac. But clinically, I see a lot more people when they remove it do better. So you can test that out for yourself. And that's wheat, barley, rye, and all of their derivatives. Include more plants, colors of the rainbow. That's my only rule of thumb. Which plants is up to you, right? How your body reacts. But if you don't know where to start, again, remember I said do that elimination diet, all right? It'll give you direction on what to do. Hydration is so important. You hear me talk about it all the time, and it's because our body is 60% water. But organs like our brain and lungs, they're super water rich, they're water dense, and we need water for every process in our body. So if you're thirsty, you already know you're dehydrated. So let me just say this, and if you heard my episode on water, you're going to know where I'm going with this. Stay away from tap water. You gotta get a filter. You gotta get a good water filter. Please go back to my water filter and hear what I say about which water filters are okay, good for now, and you really need to start switching up to. And that's episode 1. We'll be doing episode 2 coming soon. Okay. Water must be filtered. Remember that, okay? And hydration doesn't mean just drinking water. It means getting the proper mineral balance in the body, right? Cells have a very particular ratio of minerals inside and outside, and you need to create an electrical potential. That's what they do, those minerals. So it's important to find that balance. Not eating mineral-rich foods in the diet, then you need to be getting minerals in the form of a supplement. And you hear me talk about my favorite one. That was a quinton, Quinton. This is going to create the electrical charge in the cells, right? Inside the cell and outside the cell. That potential with grounding in the sun is really how you charge up that cell. It's like putting your phone in a plug and charging up your phone. That's how you charge up your body. That's how you charge up your cell. Okay, and the last part of this, fasting. Fasting is cool. It's one of the most looked up health topics on Google last year. Benjamin Franklin said the best medicines of all are resting and fasting. Basically, the less you eat, the longer you live. All right, so we evolve with this process. The body's well equipped to handle states of not eating. Walter Longo, the father of fasting, or he's really a big pioneer in the fasting movement, connecting it with science and what it does. Longevity in fasting. The fasted state is more natural than the fed state. Walter Longo said fasting is more of an environment than a stress. Food is a bigger stress than fasting. Amazing. So intermittent fasting, this is something that I do. It's very common and really easy. It's about a 14 to 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. Some people switch it up. You can stagger it. There's different ways, but what I do is just I eat, let's say 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, call it a night, and then I don't eat till the next afternoon, really late morning, maybe 11 or 12 o'clock. And that'll give me a 14-hour to 16-hour fast. But some reasons why to do a fast. In a fasted state, you're reducing body fat. Body mobilization of fat for energy. We know that. It creates those ketones. Hormonally, HGH is going up, so it's helpful for muscle building, fat loss. That's your youth hormone, good for weight loss. Lowering your insulin, good for weight loss. Again, more significant weight loss than other programs that we see for people. A reduction in blood insulin, insulin resistance. Blood sugar reduction, 3 to 6%, and insulin reduction, 20 to 31%, just from a continuous fast. Weight loss, I mentioned, effective in reducing waist circumference, the visceral fat, which is the really dangerous fat that predisposes us to many diseases. And it's best seen actually on day 2 of a fast. You're already reducing that visceral fat. And better genetic repair. You heard me talk about telomeres. It increases longevity, reduces that biological age. Reduction in inflammation. That's one of the number one indicators of health, right? So we see that the inflammation is lowest in these centenarians, the people who live over 100. They have less oxidative stress, less pro-inflammatory cytokines, increased antioxidants. Heart. A lot of these Ramadan studies that we see, lower CRP inflammation, homocysteine inflammation, triglycerides to HDL ratio. So they have better cardiometabolic health. Other studies showing reduction in cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL. Cancer, even in animal studies, we're seeing that it's preventative and also complementary to conventional cancer treatment. Helpful for brain health, BDNF. Remember I did my show on that. That is a protein that is increasing the connection, the communication of those brain cells, and it's protective against Alzheimer's. So we really need to pay close attention of how much we're eating, how often we're eating, right? And if we're allowing our body to rest and digest, and talk to your doctor if it's a good idea to do a fast. Pillar number 10 might be the most obvious one, exercise and movement, of course, next to nutrition. Do it often. You want to do it about minimum 30 minutes a day of some sort of movement or exercise. Do weight bearing and aerobic. You want both. You want a mix of both, right? They're both important for hormone balance, moving your lymphatic system. That's helpful for detox, moving the blood, promoting heart health, strengthening the immune system. Exercise is a hormetic stress. That means it's a low dose stress in the body, but it's good long term. Helps your nervous system, right? Stress, anxiety. Then you're going to put yourself in a place for better brain health. One of the organs that is most beneficial is the brain from exercise. It's amazing. Helps you reduce risk of dementia and cognitive decline. So important as we start aging. Better for your body, of course, mobility, right? Helping your sleep. Don't do it too late now. You don't want to raise your core temperature too late with exercise. So start working out and moving as nature intended. So during the day. Helpful for weight loss. Okay. So that's going to be helpful for reducing blood sugar, reducing risk of cancers like breast and prostate cancer, reducing your biological age. Remember I said protecting your telomeres? That's going to help reduce your biological age. Listen, I could be 36 years old, but if I'm doing all of these pillars, my biological age is going to be in its 20s. And you can also create a community around exercise. And you heard me talk about community on part 1 of these pillars of health. Some bonus part of this exercise is cold exposure. If you're really working out hard, try to get some cold exposure. I actually say do cold exposure as a whole. Check with your doctor if it's contraindicated, but get in a cold shower, get in a cold tub, get exposed to the cold weather because that's going to increase immunity, right? Through your nervous system, it's going to stimulate your immune system, reduce inflammation, especially in your muscles and your joints. It's going to help boost up healthy hormones like HGH and testosterone, 2 hormones you really need to get going when you're working out. It's going to help reduce swelling. That's another hormetic stress. Remember, a stress on your body that does good for long term. helping with recovery, longevity. And for me, what I found, the cold, I mean, I'll switch up my shower. So I take a lot of cold showers, but I have a cold tub. I filled it up yesterday, so I'm going to get back into doing it. But it helps. It's most helpful for immunity. I really felt as if I was not getting sick at all. I felt like Iron Man when I was doing it, and inflammation for sure. And the last pillar, number 11, 11 of 11, is rituals. So important. Actually, one of my favorite. I love the community one. I love the sense of purpose one. I love all of them. But rituals is like so important, near and dear to me because they've changed my life, and you heard me talk about them. It is not good. It's not only good for the mind, the body, but it's good for the soul, right? It will facilitate all of these things, right? It stands to believe the more you get to know yourself, the more you're in touch with your body, the more you're in touch with your mental, emotional, and your soul, that it opens up the road to start incorporating all of these pillars as a whole. So for me, rituals is up there, right? Because the more you do these rituals, the more you have alone time, the more you find sense of purpose, the more you find community of people around here, the more you want to treat your body better, hence start working out, hence start eating better. So for me, one of the quickest ways, let's say you have trouble doing 11 of these foundational rituals, foundational pillars, start with your rituals. And, I do videos, and I did a whole show on rituals. Think about habit stacking, right? If you're having trouble getting started, pick 3 things in the morning, right? So let's say you want to get up, you want to do a cold shower, or you want to get up and you really want to start oil pulling. You get up and you really want to chug half a liter of water. Do those 3 things and then do something that you would always do, like brush your teeth, right? And then do 2 things and then do something you would always do, like, put on a new t-shirt or something, or make your bed. So stack the things that you want to do around a habit that you already have, right? And it makes it a lot easier, especially if you really don't stick to things that you want to do for very long. But rituals are beautiful. You can do yoga, meditation, gratitude, affirmations. You can do breath work. You can do a cold shower. You can do grounding. You can do visualizations. You can go for a walk. There's so many things, but the whole point of rituals is to get you back to you. So with that alone time, whether it's 10 minutes or 3 hours, with that alone time, you are back to you and you're able to just stop your mind from thinking about things that don't matter or that are not real, and put yourself in a place where you're like, okay, this is actually what I feel. I feel this in my body. I feel this in my mind. My mind has been running. I've been worrying about this, but let me nip it in the bud and go, hey, this is actually not a big deal. I can break this. My body doesn't feel too good right now. I knew there was something off, but my stomach is really hurting. You get back in touch with your body. That's what rituals do. They bring you back to you. And it's very easy. So start carving out that time in the morning or in the night or both. I know it's hard for new moms, new dads out there, but really get creative, right? If you're in the shower, that's a really perfect time to start doing some rituals for yourself. If you're in the car by yourself, that's a good time to do rituals by yourself. Just be mindful of everything you do. Okay, those are the 11 pillars to health. 11. Those are dense too, because there was some more that I wanted to add in there. But really, the whole point is this: start incorporating them. Take it easy. If you have doing none of the 11, start bringing one at a time. But know that as you bring in these pillars, you're building a foundation for yourself, and that's helping you with longevity. That's helping you with disease prevention. It's helping you be your highest version of yourself, and that's what I want for you all: highest version in the mind, the body, the soul. So you're radiating and you're vibrating, and you are influencing people to be their best selves. That's how we start the movement. Much love. Let's get this guest on. This is a personal friend of mine. Dr. Sam's amazing, and we're going to get deep. When you have a good friend on here, you can be very open. So we're just going to get really deep, talk about the mind, body, talk about committing to yourself, accountability, everything, plus a little bonus stuff, some juicy things we'll be talking about. All right, let's get Dr. Sam in. All right, everyone, check this out. I have a very special guest. This is a good friend of mine, so it's always a really good conversation when we have that comfort level. Dr. Saman Faramarzi is she's a ball of light the way I describe her, but simultaneously with a great sense of humor. And the way you deliver the passion behind what you love is really incredible for the audience, because we feel inspired and very comfortable and relatable to you. So I see a lot of myself in you. You see a lot of yourself in me. So I think that makes for a good podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here again. It's always so exciting because we have these long conversations in private, right? And we're always like, oh my God, next time we're going to talk about this on the podcast. So I'm just so excited to be here so we can share our deep conversations with everyone.
Yeah, but right before the cameras go on, we're like, what the heck are we going to talk about?
I know.
Even though like we'll hang out and we'll have like these, like you said, deep conversations. We're like, damn, we should have recorded that. Because I guess you and I see the world the same way and our connection to the world the same way. So when you find people of that like-minded approach to life, it's really inspiring because you can handle problems much easier than, when I guess when we were younger, when we didn't have that level of those toolkits that we use.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things, like we were talking about, like the show being called Heal Thyself and the importance of knowing thyself. And for me, that's like one of the biggest things in life that is life, knowing thyself. What does knowing thyself mean to you?
Yeah, I think that is the most important thing for me right now, right? It's come up in the books I'm reading. It's come up in how I'm dealing with patients. It's come up for my patients because we're all connected, right? So for me, knowing thyself, it means that I'm actually connected to what I was born to do, right? What my purpose is, and allowing that to flow. It's in the situations, how my reaction is. Am I sitting with myself, allowing myself to get to know me, right? Without needing to change anything, meeting myself where I'm at. For example, I was reading this book that I got, I think it was in my first year of naturopathic medical school. And it was written by one of our teachers. So I was reading it. I started reading it again 2 weeks ago. And I was like, whoa, why did I not take advantage of this 8 years ago when I started medical school? How did I not look at this the same way, right? Well, who I was 8 years ago is so different than who I am right now. It was more than 8 years ago. I started school like 9-10 years ago. So at that point, I was a completely different person. So it's meeting yourself exactly where you're at and just being honest with yourself, really being true to yourself, understanding when something doesn't feel good internally, whether you're talking to your friends, whether you're in a crowd, whatever it is, right? Just sitting with yourself and getting to know you, not needing to be anything else but who you were born to be, which is this bright light on this planet. We're all the same, right?
We are. So how the heck do we put that into practice? Because like, it's easy to say you got to know yourself. Oh, just sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like literally just sitting down on the couch or on your bed or on the floor or on a bench? Because I can add to that, but I just want to know, what do you mean by like being by yourself, surrendering like in that capacity?
Yeah. Are you allowing enough alone time, right? Are you creating that space to truly get to know you without the influence of the things around you? Who we are is the story we tell people, right? I could change who I am right now. Today I am Dr. Sam. I'm a naturopathic doctor. Tomorrow I could be Sam, the barista, and with a completely different life story if I choose it to be different, right? But who I am inside, the heart I have, I know who I am, right? And that comes with a lot of space that I've created for myself, and it changes all the time. For example, let's say when trauma comes up for us, we could deal with it in so many different ways. And I think that, I know I'm jumping from one thing to another, but that's just an example of getting to know yourself. When certain situations happen, what do we do? Do we create space to know who we are? Or do we jump to things that distract us, right? So for example, for me, getting to know myself took a lot of alone time. Took 7 years of meditation, took years of journaling, and took a lot. It's a lonely road, but it's also, you can be lonely in the morning. And lonely isn't a bad thing, right? People are like, oh, lonely, you're so lonely. But it's time alone to really reflect and being okay with that. That's for me. What is it like for you?
Yeah, no, same idea because... And it's funny that you say distractions because I became the master of distracting myself and running away from things that I needed to sit with for close to 9 years, right? After my mom's death, I became so good at losing myself in things and people and never really being alone, right? So I became the most social person on the East Coast, right? Because when you're with people, you don't have to think about anything. When you're doing things, you don't have to think about anything. So it was like God, like I had so many friends and like text, if you've seen my text messages, like hundreds of text messages still,
Yeah.
because it's like, I still have those connections with people. I'm very social, but I think the time came, and you've experienced this, especially this year. I mean, you've known me for a while and you've seen that transition, but I realized that there was a boiling point coming. And if the time wasn't taken to know myself, then I would never become a father or a husband, or a stand-up guy that I know I can be, like to the highest level, like like a man, and what I see as a man. So I go, damn, well, I got to take this time to myself, you know? Of course, simultaneously, I moved to the mountains in Topanga, which is more solitude than I've ever been. You've seen the place. And then simultaneously, I break up with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So the emotional push, the catalyst is there, and everything just fell into place. It was like solitary confinement for the first 2 weeks. That's what it felt like. Because imagine, you know how social I was all the time. I was running around. I was, oh, let's go to this meeting. Let's go to this party. Let's do that. And then all of a sudden, boom, stops, and I'm alone for 2 weeks. Yeah. That was hard. And this is what you're getting at. That alone time became the catalyst for the most massive transition I've ever did to myself in my life, which you've seen. But it's beautiful when you get over that hump of what you're avoiding, because then you start liking being alone.
Exactly.
Which is what since I've known you, I'm like, Sam, you want to go get dinner? And you're like, I'm going to be at home alone because I feel like don't want to talk to anyone. I'm introverted. And I'm like, okay, I respect that. I don't get it, but I respect it.
Yeah.
But is that something that you've now feel like completely, like you look forward to your time alone, like recharge? I mean, you're super extroverted, but you really recharge too with this.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm super extroverted. I love people. I love spending the days filled with my friends. I have so many different groups of friends too, right? And I've noticed that if I don't have that alone time, then I'm not the best version of myself. Then I show up as completely, because I get influenced really easily too. That's another thing about me that you probably know. It's like when I spend a lot of time with people, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm a little confused about how I want to go about this or how I want to take this on. So for me, if I don't schedule alone time on my calendar, then I'm a mess. Like I will not be. So now this is what I do. And this has changed how social I've been. So have you noticed that the past couple of months, maybe the past month or two, I've spent a lot more time with people?
You have.
So this is what I do now. I wake up at 5 a.m. I don't start seeing patients till 10 a.m. on the days that I see patients. So I have 5 hours of alone time in the morning. Not only is that setting the tone for my day, but it's already charging me before I go out in the world, right? So that's what I always say to people. I'm like, if that's something you want to experiment with and you're like, oh, but I don't have time. We choose. We choose what we want in life, right? So, and this is, I'm not an expert on this, right? I'm just here to share my personal experience of how I've gotten to where I am today with the way I choose to live my life. Because I think that's an important thing to touch base on too, is choice. Yeah. How are we choosing to show up every single day, right? How are we choosing to recharge? How are we choosing to know ourselves? Some people are scared to know themselves. Yeah. It's a scary thing to look at your demons. It's a scary thing when you sit with yourself and you're like, oh shit, I didn't know this was there, or I didn't know that I did this. And you see that in the reflection of every single person that you interact with, right? Like you said, we're so much alike, and we see each other in one another. Is that the right way to say? So that's the thing. And then you get to really witness that and be like, oh wow, that's where I can truly love myself, right? Yeah. When you see those parts of you that aren't perfect, those parts of you that you're like, after 7 years of fucking meditating, I still have to do this. And you're like, thank you for having this come up, because now I get to work on it. And that's the thing that people sometimes are like, oh, but you've done all this work. How come this stuff is still coming up? Well, you reach, I say it's like a video game, right? You reach one level and then something else comes up if you're not looking at it. And sometimes you make that commitment. You're like, I really want to get to know myself. I really want to reach this level of excellence in life. And if you're avoiding something or putting something under the rug, then I choose to call it God. So God then chooses to show you, hey, you either pay attention to it now or I'm going to blow it up, right? And then whatever way it is, then you get to choose how you look at it and how you deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good toolkit. Like, it's not that we're just sitting alone and trying to figure ourselves out, but we have tools, and
Yeah.
those tools come in the form of people,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, even in the like undergraduate, I remember I started seeing patterns about the people that were in my life. They sort of like there was always something that was alike with the men and women in my life, and then I was like, all right, let me work on myself a little bit, and then all of a sudden, like I started attracting different people, who were kind of like more aligned with what I healed. And then I go, wait a minute, I'm starting to see a pattern here. So through college and then medical school, I really started using that as my toolkit, as people being reflections of the things that I need to heal.
Yeah.
So I mean, shoot, since I was in college, like when someone comes and it comes at me or at other people in a way that doesn't look right to me, I don't judge them because I go, what I see in that person, I can do and I can be very easily. You know,
Yes.
so if you see that and you go, well, wow, like I see that within myself, do I need to heal still? Especially if they're in my life, right?
Exactly.
That's a great toolkit that we can all use.
Yeah.
We can just go, all right, who are the people in my life? Are they serving me? If they're not serving me, why? What are they reflecting? And what patterns am I attracting in people, particularly lovers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Relationships are like, shoot, that is like the mirror of all mirrors.
Yeah. When you get
And we get
intimate.
triggered and hard. We get triggered hard by loved ones,
Yeah.
family and lovers. But
Yeah.
do you agree that like people can really be massive reflections and a good toolkit for auditing where you are?
Oh, 100%. I think that's why people come into your life, like you said. They are a mirror of where we're at. They serve their time. They show you certain things, and you get to choose to look at it and be like, oh, wow, that's a reflection of me. Or you get to just point the finger at them and be like, oh my God, can you believe this person? Like he was X, Y, and Z, or she did this and that, and then move on from it. Or you can look at it and be like, oh, wow, this is where I'm really at. Maybe I would handle it differently, but this person's showing up this way so I can learn from it because it's triggering me, right?
Yeah, so use your triggers as the number one exclamation mark tool.
Yes.
That's when the light is blinking and going, hey, pay attention, you're being triggered.
Yeah.
Pay attention because and all shoot, I was guilty of it so much.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like they're triggering me, get them away from me. I don't want
Me
it.
too.
And you just walk away and you
Oh,
run
yeah.
away and you're just like, oh, and then your ego is so good at villainizing those people and saying like, oh, I hate John. He's the biggest dick ever. He shows
Yeah.
up like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to surround yourself, but it also means pay attention to what you're feeling.
Exactly. I used to be terrified of my triggers. I would be like, I want to avoid every situation where I'm going to get triggered. You know why? Because I saw how I would act in certain relationships when I was triggered, and I didn't like that part of me. And the more I started loving myself and witnessing parts of myself that I'm like, oh, I want to work on this and that, then I learned that, okay, I can trust myself. And I started seeing triggers and witnessing them instead of being reactive. So when with, people I was dating, when I would get triggered, I would be like, I got to the point of being brave enough to be like, hey, this really triggered me right now, and then I got to sit with it without needing to change the situation, without like I would witness myself wanting to absolutely run away. I'd be like, I'm getting my bags and I'm leaving, and I'm, because I was so afraid I was going to be reactive and then be judged, right? But then I was like, oh, hey, I'm getting triggered right now. Then I got to talk about that. And I think these are the little nuggets, the little gifts that come with really getting to know yourself, right?
Yeah.
Know thyself. Know what is triggering you.
Yeah. Heal
Know
thyself, know thyself. We'll change the name.
Every time I come on, it's going to be know thyself.
Yeah, but you said something really important that I didn't want to let go is creation, right? You said you can be Dr. Sam, the naturopathic doctor, and then Dr. Sam, the barista. And I think that it's really empowering for folks to know and understand that we are here to create, always to create. That is our life purpose. That's why we're here on earth, to be the expression of what we know ourselves to be conceptually, and that's love. But now we get to be that experientially in this human body, in this human form, right? So can we align with our truest selves in this physical form? And we have that opportunity to do that through our experience. So we do that through creation.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily religious, but they say that you were created in the likeness of God.
Yeah.
And if you understand the true nature of God or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, it's just pure creation,
Yeah.
right? Big Bang, creation, right? Everything that we're experiencing is creation. We've been creating since we were kids, maybe not consciously, but now we get to do it consciously. We get to go, are these people, places, things, situations, circumstances serving me? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are they reflection? Are they trigger? Yes or no? How do I heal myself? And then move on. It's crazy. It's crazy without judgment too.
Yep.
Like without good or bad. Like
Exactly.
I can say, I'm going to create myself to be the biggest dick in California, and I'm going to hurt everyone's feelings.
Yeah.
And I can start doing that tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then within a month, I'll be that.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? I'll start attracting new people, new places, new things, new situations, new circumstances, completely different. I'll push away all the people that were of my old vibration, and then the universe is going to go, here, you asked for it. I'm going to give you these things that are going to facilitate that for you without judgment. The universe doesn't care if it's good or bad. The universe cares about giving you what you're asking for, which gives us a lot of responsibility.
Exactly.
We have to truly know what we're attracting and creating. Every day we're creating.
Every single day. I believe that too.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, your mind wants to create everything you believe, whether you want it or not.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where that comes in that you just said. I completely agree with that. And there's even scientific studies on this of how your mind and, belief system works, right? So I think it's so powerful. And that's what we like to do with patients, with our audience. Empowerment of understanding what are we creating.
What are we creating? So then it gives us a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
Right. And I mentioned the universe doesn't care if it's good or bad, but I always say it would behoove you to understand if you are hurting other people, it's always about the law of cause and effect, meaning that if you're shitty to people, you're probably going to get shitty people coming in your life. So regardless of good or bad, just understand that you also are going to attract the stuff that you kind of don't want. So you want to be of the vibration of more loving, more giving, more empowering, more nurturing, all those things that are really beautiful. Because then you get more of that, which is what you experience in your life. It's what I experience in my life. All the people around us are of that vibration because we chose consciously to not be that vibration, the one that is going to attract that. But I think it's a beautiful thing that we can be empowered and really figure out. We can go, okay, I'm going to watch my thoughts now. Oh, I'm going to watch my words, and you better believe I'm going to watch my actions.
Oh, yeah.
And it can completely change your life by those three things. At what point in your life did you say, wow, I'm conscious enough to understand that I'm sort of creating this whole experience?
I think it was, believe it or not, only a few years ago. So for me, it was probably 5 years ago when I was dealing with a lot of failure. So I failed my boards, and I've shared that story openly. And my mentor told me, "Hey, look at failure. How do you feel about failure?" Right? So that experience by itself, I failed my boards, and I had to really work on my relationship with failure. How I was so ashamed of failure, and how I was creating failure through failing just a test, right? I mean, thank God that's how I learned, right? It's just a test. When you look at the big scheme of life, I mean, in that moment, I was like crying on the floor, like, oh my God. That's because I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed of people knowing that she failed her boards, right? And I was like, and everyone around was like, we love you. Like, I only told my mom and my sister and like maybe 2 close friends because the shame around it was like eating me alive. I was like, everyone's posting that they passed and I'm the only person that failed. So around that time, my mentor was really talking to me about failure. That's when I was doing Qigong, and he's like, Sam, failure is something you have to work with. And until you work with failure itself, the idea, the shame around that, you're not going to pass your test. And I had to learn that. And then when I let go, right, I realized when I changed my mindset around failure, that's when I passed my boards. So that was like I was like, whoa.
Universe gave you that.
The universe gave it to me. I worked on it. And it was from then on that I started playing around with things, right? Being like, oh, I think about this, it shows up. I think about something else, it shows up. I don't deal with something and I live my life unconsciously, subconsciously with the programs I have running, they will show up.
Louder and louder.
Louder and louder until it gets
Until
so
you
loud
listen.
and you're
Yeah.
like, how did I let it get to this point?
Yeah.
And that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And again, thank God that I have the support. I've had the teachers in my life where when something during quarantine, when something happened that really propelled me to so much healing. But at the time, I was like, holy fuck, how is
Yeah.
this happening, right? Then I was like, how did I create this?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where someone empowered comes up too, right? How did this experience get created in my reality?
Mm-hmm.
Because my reality is it's not the same as yours,
Right.
right? Everyone's reality is different. So I'm responsible for my own reality. So when something like that comes up, I look at myself and I'm like, how did this happen? But then you get lost in the story. And I'm like, this isn't supposed to be a part of my story. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just went off on, I don't even know where I'm at
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, I know there's some really, there's instances that'll come. You see, you want to create these things and you're healing all these parts of you. And then out of left field, these things come, and which we judge as good or bad.
Yeah.
And trust me, like if someone kidnaps my son, that's bad on the surface. Like that's really, really bad. And that's traumatizing for me and my family. I'm 100% for that. But I always do believe there's deeper things to life. I do.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't believe in coincidence at all. I think it would be
I don't
silly to
either.
believe in coincidence.
Yeah. Like there's not even 1% of me that believes in
Yeah.
coincidence.
You know,
But that's my reality, right?
Look at look at a snowflake's design.
Yeah.
Right? Just that's a snowflake. What does that say about your life? You know, it's pretty incredible what we could think about. Like, holy shit! Like, there's a lot going on, and we're in this like eternal, ethereal web of like manifestation and consciousness. But I think it's really interesting because we do have those moments that are like quote unquote bad, and universe is like, listen, you ain't listened before. You ain't listened before that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to show you something quote unquote bad for you to listen. Like, you're going to have to create something within yourself, something bad that's going to listen. And then we experience it and we go, oh God, that now I'm listening. Like I never want that to happen again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a case by case. There's a whole spectrum of like stuff that I absolutely don't want to experience. Right. But, with that said, I'm also consciously trying to heal and manifest parts of me. So, I love that we can empower people like this too.
Yes.
And you do that with your patients. I know that like the one thing I love about your practice is you can give people these IVs, and IVs take a while on average, what, like an hour to 2 hours?
Yeah. The shortest one will be 45 minutes,
45
an hour
minutes,
to, 4 hours.
To 4 hours.
Yeah.
So you take that time to also do the mind body stuff, which is really unique to a lot of what naturopathic doctors do, because we sort of lose ourselves in being clinicians and then, saying bye. And then the next patient comes in without the art of medicine. I think you've done a really good part in your career of mastering that art, like sitting with the patient, learning about their traumas, learning about their triggers, doing exactly what we're talking about. But basically, I could be getting an IV and we can be having a conversation like this. So it's really cool that you do that.
It's such a gift to me to be able to experience that too, because that's the part of healing that's so amazing, to see your patients become empowered, to come from a place of connecting and see our own. The one thing that really makes me happy, like the one compliment, right, is being able to create space and compassion, a compassionate, safe, sacred space between me and a patient, this relationship where they feel completely safe to be themselves, right? To share their deepest secrets. And I think that comes with me being very open too. And we can do that with it doesn't have to be patient-doctor relationship. That's just where you think healing is happening. But we can do that with our friends. We can do that with our family. We can do that with any relationship in our lives, right? And I encourage people to do that. The more raw and authentic and real you are, the more people are willing to share with you. And that's where the healing is, right? Yeah. My patients sometimes come in and before we've formed a relationship, they're terrified of telling me what they're eating because they think I'm going to judge them. And I'm like, hey, this is a safe space. You tell me everything that's going on and if you want real healing.
Real healing.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it does allow the space. And you and I share this patient. She's had massive healing over the past, this year. It was like she was in her head and she was very much so, she had a lot of anxiety. And the work that you've done, I've done, we put her in such a good place. And it's beautiful to think that we can do that as naturopathic doctors. Like that's the true healing. We looked at, and you and I both look at it the same way, the iceberg. And on the bottom part of the iceberg is mental, emotional, spiritual part. Yes. And the physical is just a little tip. Right. So any physical manifestation is like, okay, well, we see it, but like let's get to the bottom of the iceberg.
Exactly.
Let's fix that.
That's where the juicy stuff is.
Yeah, that's where the juicy stuff
and
is.
that capacity and ability to heal is in every single one of us if we're willing to go there. It is rare, right? That patient that we share is brave, and we all can be brave, right? In our own healing, right? Even if you're not working with a doctor, how brave are you to look at yourself? How brave are you to sit with yourself? How brave are you to actually say, hey, I want to change this?
Yeah.
How willing are you to let go of certain things in life? So I think you and I, or any doctor that you work with, is a vessel to kind of like flame the little or turn on the fire, within you that's like, wait, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then the patient does all the work.
Right.
But then sometimes you need that gift. And then with our patients, I feel like in that sacred space, so much healing has come up for me. So after every single session, I share that with my patients. I'm like, thank you so much for showing up this way, because you don't know the parts of me that just healed through that session. And that's how it is with our friends, family, loved ones, like with everyone. It's never a one-way street if you think about it. So, but that's if you're willing to show up.
Yeah. If you're
How
willing
willing
to
are you?
Yeah.
How scared are you?
Yeah.
Are you letting go of the fear?
Yeah.
It's just, the one thing I've been working on that September it's been a special month for me so far. It's only September 11th today. I am very empowered right now to show up as my best self every single day. And sometimes I say that, but I like feel it right now.
Yeah.
I check in with myself multiple times a day, multiple situations that come up. I ask myself, is this the best I can do right now? Right? Like I always say capacity and ability. What am I capable of doing? Do I have space for this, to create this in my life? Am I able to do it? And then I realize when I check in that way with myself, I let go of excuses, because it's between me and me, right? It's not like I told someone else that I'm going to do something and then not do it. So that is something that I think we can talk to our friends and family about. And I've been doing that lately, sharing that with people, is how are we showing up powerful? Our own empowerment. How are we doing that?
I love that. I love that we can ask ourselves, am I to my highest capacity? Am I to my highest ability? That's really important stuff, because if we don't check in, like you said, it's just us.
Yeah.
We ain't showing up for anyone else.
Exactly.
We ain't impressing anyone else.
No.
It's literally just like, how can we impress and love ourselves? I'm going to switch gears.
Yeah.
You mentioned, we talked about the iceberg, and we talked about the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff. We talked about, and you used the word juicy. We're going to get to the juice. You inspired me to do 90 plus day celibacy.
Oh, yeah.
You did. And
Thank
it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I say that because as men, we have we have programming, and then it runs a lot of our how we show up for intimacy, whether consciously or subconsciously throughout life. And even if we do all this work and we're conscious men and we're doing it, there's still the subconscious programming.
Yes.
And I think to stop everything and to be alone with that, you can break that. And as men, that's crazy, because now I can show up much more intentional, much more open, much more loving, making decisions that are aligned with me.
Yeah.
It's wild. So what inspired you to just do that celibacy?
Yeah. So for me, I did 100-day gong, which is a 100-day commitment, right? And I'd done this in the past where I did it when I first wanted to start meditating. And I couldn't commit to it. I would say, oh, I'm going to meditate every single morning. And then 5th day, I was like, I would forget, or I would come up with excuses like, oh, I'm running late, I'm doing this. Yeah. And then I was like, no, I'm doing a 100-day commitment. I listened to a podcast, I don't remember which one. And this is like 7-8 years ago. And I was like, oh, a 100-day commitment. It could be about anything. And I was like, if I want to change this habit, I'm going to do this. So I committed to it. And I'm one of those people that if I commit to something, I'm fully committed, but I have to fully commit. I'm not like, I'm all or nothing. So I did a 100-day commitment. I meditated for 100 days straight in the morning. Like I remember one time I was in New York with someone and I meditated in the cab because that's how committed I was. I was like, first thing in the morning because we were going somewhere and it was early and I didn't have, I was like, but no excuses. I was like, don't talk to me. I have to meditate. The whole car ride, I was meditating. So I didn't let anything get in the way of that. And then that's when I continued meditating. So something came up for me during quarantine, a traumatic event that really affected me. And I really wanted to understand myself better. I wanted to understand my relationship to sexuality, to sex, to how do we view sex? You know, we all have this programming around sex. Oh, you're bad if you're doing this. Or, oh my God, I'm going to have sex with that guy and manipulate him into a relationship. Or is it early? Is it too early to have sex with him? Is it too late to have sex with him? Like, is he going to leave if I don't? Or is he going to stay just because he wants it? These thoughts go through a lot of women's mind, right? So when there was a situation for me in April that taught me a lot, and I wanted to look deeper because, of course, you know me. I'm always like, let's analyze this.
You do.
Let's go deeper with
Let's go
this.
deep.
Let me find out why this situation had to happen for me. Not to me, but for me,
Yeah.
right? The wording is even important. So I decided to do a 100-day commitment, 100-day celibacy, and I learned so much about myself. I learned because when you do something intentionally, because we all heard our friends say too, like, oh, well, it's been 6 months because we're in quarantine and I didn't really get a chance to do this. But really, if you look at this, anything you do intentionally changes the way you look at it. So for example, let's say if you're starving all day because you haven't had a chance to eat and you're running around, you're going to look at that starvation pain differently than if you were like, I'm doing a fast, right? I'm intentionally not eating something. You're more aware of how you're feeling. You're going deeper with it. You're not just letting it go, right? Letting the program run, right? And then eating whenever you can. You're intentional. You pay attention to every single step of the way. So that's what you and I talked about too. When we did this intentionally, I learned my patterns. I learned the shame that was within that. And I learned of all the things that I wanted to let go of. And it was really, really empowering. And I remember I was sharing my experience with you, and you're like, I want to experience this.
Yeah.
So was it the same for you? Were you noticing your patterns? Because especially for me, the first 2 weeks, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this about myself. Like the way I would want to distract with certain things. And I know I'm not saying much, but
No.
but this is a level of comfort I'm at right now.
I get it.
Was it the same for you?
Yeah, for me, it's like, because mine was no flirtation, no masturbation, no sex.
Yeah.
90 days, boom. And all the latter two were easy.
Yeah.
Wait, did I start? No, the flirtation was hard. I didn't know how programmed I was to be a flirt. And outside of professional, right? So like socially, I didn't know that I was flirting with everyone, you know, like it was just ingrained in me because, you know, even through high school, like I was such a flirt. College, I was such a flirt. And then even through med school, it's like, it's just been ingrained about how I show up. It's a matter of how I show up. So I saw the impulse being there to do that, and I stopped, and I was like, okay, well, how do I show up now? And it's pretty incredible because I was able to forge deeper bonds with women.
Yep.
Because there's no connotation of intimacy between us.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy shit, like this is a great connection. Like I really just appreciate you on the deepest level. Because it wasn't, again, adulterated by those thoughts or like just speaking in that way, you know?
Or even that feedback
Or
that
the feedback,
you get, right?
yeah.
That like satisfaction of flirting with someone and getting that feedback of like, oh, now I feel good about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Just the little things that we reach for.
And even before that, like I was in a place where consciously there was I was just flowing. I didn't think there was subconscious programming or lifelong programming that was still there. So it's interesting because now I have the awareness. Yeah. I can go, all right, how am I showing up with this person? Actually, do I want to flirt with this person? I get to choose now if I want to turn it on or not. Before it was just on. And that was pretty much one of the most incredible lessons that I learned. Because when you're quiet and you're literally forcing yourself not to flirt, or knowing what your patterns of masturbation are, or knowing how you show up during sexual intimacy, it's you just stop. And again, we talked about surrender in the beginning of the show. What happens when you just stop and you see everything for what it is?
Exactly.
And I think the second biggest lesson was the energy exchange in sex.
Yeah.
I was like, I always heard in the conscious community, it's an energetic exchange, right? Sacred energetic exchange. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's fine. Uh, but, but damn, like now I get it. It's like, there is a very sacred exchange. And like, when you're right and you're vibing and you're totally like purifying yourself inside out and you're just in the best place you've ever been, if you have sex with someone who is not in the right place and is going through a lot or holding this heavy energy, it will affect you inevitably, especially if you're very sensitive, like me. So I'm very choosy about even the time I spent with people. So I think it was one of the most incredible experiences.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
You learn so much. I love that you've learned all this, by the way. It's amazing, by the way, to see who you are and how you're evolving every day. I know I've shared this with you, the amount of work you're putting into your self-growth, especially since May, right? How you're willing to see all this. It's so amazing.
Yeah, you gotta.
So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. You gotta call yourself out.
Yeah,
You know?
and you gotta have friends that call you out. I know sometimes I can be hard with you.
Yeah, I know. Well, we have a mutual friend who says you're like my Persian mom.
Yeah.
You just, you'll just yell me out and call me out on things, but it's true because like I don't want yes people in my life. I want people to be like, Christian, you do this and it's not serving you. You better see it. And I'm like,
Exactly.
well, damn, like she might be right.
Yeah. And I appreciate the same with you. You
Yeah.
know, you're like, hey, Sam, have you looked at the way you're doing this?
Yeah.
You're not as harsh as I am. Like,
No,
but I'm a
I
Persian
nice, gentle,
woman.
smooth. Yeah, and I'm a gentle, smooth guy.
Yes.
I love, but yeah. So, how can maybe people learn more about like celibacy? Do you have any resources, or do you say 100 days, commit to it? What about when we feel like we want to break it? Is there anything that you use? Is there anything you said to yourself? Any mantras? Anything? Because 100 days
Yeah.
can be hard, or even
100
50
days
days could be hard for some people.
Yeah. So here's the thing about any type of commitment, right? I think I didn't have any guidance in this, right? I just chose to do this because I wanted to understand this relationship. This is who I am. And I'm not, again, an expert in this, right? So for me, it was like, if you want to understand something, you have to be willing to sit with it and look at it and give it up. Or you have to be willing to just look at it. And for me, to give something up for 100 days, I knew that something would change. I wanted change. Everyone out there, I know you want change in something, right? We all want to change certain habits. We all want to grow. We all want to be empowered. I like to live from an empowered space. So like, I remember during the time that I was doing it, everyone was like, 100 days, that's so hard. And then they would reflect and be like, wait, I've gone without being sexually active for years, right? Years and years, but you don't think about it.
Yeah.
So imagine how powerful it is when you actually commit to yourself. And I remember during our last show, we talked about committing to ourselves. This is funny because was that about
Full
a year
circle.
ago?
Yeah, it's about a year ago.
I was like, the most important thing I've done for me is committing to myself. And here we go. The universe
thing.
gives me opportunities to talk about committing to myself. I'm really big on that because if I can't commit to myself, how can I one day commit to a husband, to a family? How can I commit to my patients? You know, I've had patients tell me, I am committed to you and this protocol, but it's really they're committed to themselves. It has nothing to do with me, you know? So it all starts with our commitment to ourselves. For me, I come from this place of wanting growth. So every single time that I was like, maybe I want to go grab the vibrator or whatever it is that you think about, like if you're giving up masturbation, let's say, you're like, no one's gonna know, you know, no one's gonna. But you know what? You're doing it for you,
For sure.
So if you really want it, you're gonna commit to it. You have to look at yourself and then be honest with yourself. Do I want to see this change? So whether it's you're committing for 100 days to meditating every single morning, or if you're like, I want to understand my relationship to sex, sexuality, to how I show up in relationships, and you're like, I'm going to do this because I think sex is a beautiful thing. I think it's an amazing, healthy, beautiful thing when it's done, when you're showing up, when it's intentional, when you are aware of what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into, and
for sure.
how you're showing up with your energy, right? So how can you have the healthiest version of it? And that was important for me. So I was like committed. So every time the thought came up, I would be like, oh, I wonder why I want to go grab that.
Yeah.
And I I want to distract from this discomfort.
What's the discomfort?
What's the discomfort?
Yeah.
So then, again, me being who I am, with my detective mind of let's go deeper, I was like, okay, I'm going to go deeper and sit with this discomfort. So for me, I came up with a way of every time I got triggered to go against my celibacy, I meditated. I did Qigong, meditated, and then I journaled. And those times were the most powerful times for me because what happened was I got deeper into the understanding. You know, if I had broken it, I know I wouldn't feel good about myself. I know I could have just lied to you or everyone else
No one
and
have
been
ever
like,
known. Yeah.
guys, I finished my 100-day. Like, yay, let's celebrate. But I know I wouldn't be happy about it, right?
Yeah.
It's a commitment to me.
So it's a commitment. It's like, are you being your higher self? Capacity, ability, and commitment. You can
Yeah.
ask yourself those questions and go, okay, well, am I being true to myself, right? Because how are you showing up for you? Ain't nobody else looking at you. You know, it's
Exactly.
just you. So I love that. You were very inspiring with that. And I would
Thank
challenge people who are listening or viewing to do something. It doesn't have to be for 100, do it for 50.
Yeah.
But commit to yourself. Doesn't have to even be celibacy. It could be anything that you want to commit to, and know that Dr. Sam did it, Dr. Christian did it, and we're still alive and we're feeling good.
And we're
it's
feeling
just
better than ever.
Better than ever.
Better than ever, right?
Better than
But I
ever.
do want to say something about the amount of days you commit to. The first 2 weeks are the hardest. So it's important to make it at least like 40 days.
Yeah, at least 40 days.
Yeah, because that's when the shift happens. Like after the 30, 40 days, then I actually understood what was beneath it all.
Yeah.
Then I got to form new habits, which was getting back into meditation and Qigong and journaling and all the things I wanted to replace my certain behaviors with, right? So I think that the amount of days matters, right? But whatever it is for you.
For sure. I love that. So we're going to do 5 rapid fire questions before we get off this show. So we're going to pull them up right now, and I think they're going to be really good. All right. Question number 1 from the audience comes from JGAT. What do you do when you feel stuck or stagnant in your life? A lot of us go through that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there. I think a lot of us have. All right. So what is something that you do? Do you have one? I can.
You say.
Okay.
You go first.
Stuck or stagnant? What I do is I make sure I sleep, because I usually feel very stuck or stagnant if I don't sleep for like 2 days straight.
Sleep it off.
So sleep it off. No, I make sure I get a good night's sleep, and then I wake up and I get right back. I usually am stuck or stagnant when I'm not following my rituals. After rituals, after 2 hours of rituals, 1 hour of rituals, I'm back. Brand new. So I'm assuming that you're going to say something about rituals too, because your eyes are lighting up.
Yeah.
Right? So journaling, meditation, affirmation, barefoot grounding, breath work, yoga, meditation, everything.
Absolutely. When I feel stuck, well, sometimes I catch myself doing this on purpose. So I encourage whoever's question that is, if you feel yourself stuck, ask yourself, what is getting out of this stuckness going to serve me, and what is being stuck serving me? Because sometimes I'll like wake up angry and I have all the tools in the world to like let go of it, right? Be like, let me let go of this anger or feeling stuck in a certain situation. And I'm like, no, I want to be here. So then I'm like, okay, so now I remove the resistance that's trying to like get rid of it.
Surrender.
And yeah, I surrender to it. And I almost like warn, I've done this with my coworkers where like I wake up and I'm like, I'm kind of grumpy and I'm stuck with this feeling. And I try to change it before I go to work even, you know, and then I get to work and I tell my coworkers, I'm like, guys, this is how I'm feeling. I need some alone time. So I let go of the resistance. So the first step is surrender. And surrendering removes that resistance, so then you can do
all the other
things you want to do.
It opens up the space.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. Question number 2, Jen de Jesus. What can I do about feeling down? Low self-esteem, no motivation. How can I get myself out of this funk? Low self-esteem, no motivation. So this is like a self-love type thing.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we create more space for self-love?
So the one thing that changed my life last year is the gratitude journal. So when you're in a place of low motivation, if you keep dwelling on that, if you're in a space of, you know, everything is wrong, focusing on things that are going wrong, focusing on parts of your body that you don't like, you're going to keep creating that same emotion.
Universe doesn't care about
Exactly.
good or bad. It's going to give you what
It's
you
going to
ask.
give you what you're putting out there.
Okay.
So I realized when I was stuck in those places, I started journaling and writing down 5 things I'm grateful for. And I made that a habit, even though it felt kind of phony at the beginning, because I'm like, no, I don't really like this part of me, and I don't like that. And then it became natural after a few days of actually doing it, because you rewire your brain. And that's the thing that gives me my confidence, gives me that gratitude feeling of, wow, I do have a lot of good things in life. And then you'll see other things unfold, and just the beauty of life just unfold right in front of you. So start with a gratitude journal. What you want to do is write 5 things you're grateful for in the morning, 5 things you're grateful for at night, and do it every single day for at least a month. And then check in with yourself, and you're going to be like, oh, damn, I'm feeling good.
Dr. Sam's about that life because she gave us gratitude journal for your birthday. You gave us gratitude journals, all of your guests. So
Remember?
I remember.
Because it was the most life-changing thing, and I want everyone to live their best lives.
And that's a way to let in, right? Because it changes the energy of like, I'm low in this low self-esteem. It's heavy. You change it by just being grateful for what's there. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. Kurt Victor. This is a friend of mine now. This is a close friend of mine from New Jersey.
Hey, Victor.
What's the best way to say, Victor? What's the best way to separate work life from home life? This is an important question because a lot of us want to make sure that we can create a space in our home to like grow and be at peace and then go into work.
Yeah.
I think for me, since this is my friend here, I'm going to say, Kurt, like one of the best things you can do is create that ritual time. The ritual time is your home time, right? Because you create that sacred space for your rituals, but also making your home a sacred space creates the split, right? Because you go into work, you have, fluorescent lights and you got like these really boring furniture, but then you go home. Not everyone.
Have you been to my workspace?
I know, I've been, your workspace is lit. No, but making it a sacred space, right? What's the lighting like? Is it warm? Is it calling? Feng Shui. I just talked about Feng Shui in one of my last shows. Does it allow energy flow?
Yeah.
I think that's important. That's what I'd say to that. What about you?
Yeah, I would say the same. To separate those two things, I say it's so important how you leave your house in the morning. So for me, I used to wake up right before needing to leave the house, like shower really quick, put on an outfit, put my hair up, and just go. And I was always late. I'm still working on being on time. But
You and I both.
yeah, I know, both of us, right? But the thing is, I realized when whether I started seeing patients at 7 a.m. or 10, I need to create time so I feel aligned with who I am and feel good about leaving my space and to the next thing, right? And to work. So morning routine is so important and it keeps you grounded. And then when you come home, are you excited to come to your space? I notice that when I come to a space that's unorganized or whatever, but then to keep that separated too, like let's say if your work is really stressful, have a ritual that you do when you get home that shakes off the stress from work,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was thinking.
So when you, on some people on their drive home, have a ritual that they listen to a certain song and they like fist
Let it
pump,
out.
let it out.
Don't
Like I
stop
listen to loud
believing.
music. You know how I am with music.
Yeah.
So like I do that. I listen to music or something that gives me life.
Yeah.
And also when I get home, maybe I jump in the shower and rinse off the day, or I sit down and I think about 3 amazing things that happened. I love reflecting.
I love that.
And really analyzing how did I show up today, you
Yeah.
know? And really letting it go before you go to bed. A lot of times people come home and turn on the TV and zone out.
The zombieing out.
And become zombies, and then you feel drained.
So check it at the door is what you're saying.
Check it at the motherfucking door.
I love that. Okay, classic Coltrane. Creating consistency with new habits is tough. How do you balance accountability? Creating consistency with habits is tough. Okay. Accountability. So it's sort of like what you were talking about is like, do you have those prompts in your head of like, am I being my highest self?
Yes.
Right? How am I showing up? And remember that like, you need to show up as your highest self for you and no one else, and and starting to reflect and meditate on that. Like it's you. It's always been you. How are you being? How are you being for you?
Yeah.
And I think that starts creating accountability.
I agree.
Right.
I think something great before you choose to commit to something also is sit down with yourself and ask, why am I doing this? What am I trying to gain from it? How will I feel if I don't do this? How will I feel if I do it? And then really like feel it in your body. Give yourself 30 seconds between each question and write it down. So I don't even know if you know this about me, but I was a weight loss counselor at Jenny Craig.
I had no idea.
I
You just
know.
dropped the bomb on me.
I know, right? So this is when I was like 18, 19,
Okay.
when I was studying nutrition in undergrad. But again, I was all about the mind, even then when I had no knowledge about the mind, right? But I would sit with people. We had like 15-minute visits to check in weekly, right? But our first visit, we would fill out this form, and it was always about, why am I trying to lose 25 pounds? Let's say that's the goal, right? And it would be really personal questions and answers of like, I want to do this because I want my joints to feel better. I want to run around with my kids. I want to blah, blah, blah. And every week when I would meet with the person, I would remind them, hey, wow, you did amazing this week. Or, hey, okay, you didn't. You ate all your food in one day. People would do that, by the way, because that sometimes they would forget about why they're doing it. So sit with yourself, write down the why you're doing it, and write it down somewhere you can see it. So let's say if you want to change it, have a consistent change of washing your face every night, you want to have clear skin, that's your why, and you feel good when your skin is glowing and blah, 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 blah. Like the list that you have, look at it before you go to bed. I promise you, when you look at it, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to wash my face. Because my why, it's if I told my sister I'm going to wash my face every night, doesn't matter. She doesn't call me every night to check up on me.
Right.
Right?
I love that.
And even if she did call me, I'd be like, yeah, I did. Bye.
Bye. Leave me alone.
You know what I mean? But it's about you and what you want.
I love that. Okay. And the last question by Mr. BSX000, online resources and podcasts for healing childhood trauma. Ooh, okay. Well, I think Peter Crone, as someone we know mutually, does a lot of work on childhood trauma or realizing your blind spots that you've grown up with. Mastin Kipp, who's do you know who that is?
Yeah,
you know Mastin
he's
Kipp?
amazing. Yeah,
He's amazing. He's great. He has a great page on a lot of childhood trauma stuff.
Yeah.
Holistic psychologist. She has an amazing page. You know, man, that girl was like 10,000 when like 3 years ago. Now she's like 2 million followers.
Incredible.
It's insane.
She's helping so many people.
And I love that. And it shows how many people want that.
Exactly.
So check her out. We're going to get her on the show. I spoke to her like earlier this year. So let's see if we can get her on. You're going to watch.
I'm going to watch.
You're going to come in.
I'm going to come in and sit right there and take notes.
Anyone else? Do you know anyone?
No, I think
maybe
those are
a little
great
Dispenza
sources.
stuff that just like the current stuff that we can work on to go back to childhood.
Exactly. I love Joe Dispenza's work. Trauma is a touchy subject, right? I think I've worked through my trauma with my own therapist. I love therapy and I recommend it for every single person. I think I call it my hour of self-mastery. So I say like every Monday morning I have my self-mastery time with my person.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm lucky to like that and to want that and to create space for that and to spend and to invest in that. You know, it's what I choose to invest my money in. I might have to cut out from certain things, but I invest a lot of money in self-mastery. So if you want to, you know, I think that's a great way to go about it too. If you want one-on-one care, seeking out a therapist that's specialized in that you connect with, is a great way too.
I love it. Okay, look, we covered everything.
We did. What else? What other personal questions can I answer?
I don't know. I know, right? Let's do this for another 3 hours. But I think we're lost on time now because we really did we went in. But I really appreciate you coming in here as always.
Thank
This
you.
is your second show. We'll probably have you on in less than a year again, and we'll see a lot of synchronicity of what you talked about now. But really, all the listeners, the viewers, start taking those things into your life, right? Those taking yourself accountable, holding. What are we saying? What are our prompts? And how do you show up for yourself? I think that's one of the most beautiful points you've made. Is like, it ain't for anyone else.
It's for you.
It's for us.
Yeah.
And let's remember that.
Yeah.
How do we find you?
Instagram,
Okay.
dr.sam.nd. And I'm at Remedy Place. So if you're in LA and want to come visit me, I am the head naturopathic doctor there. So you can book visits with me.
Remedy Place is a bougie social wellness club. You forgot to mention that. So if you're bougie, then go to Remedy because that is the spot. And I have yet to visit, so I'm going to go.
You need to come in. I know.
We
do ice baths there. We have sauna, IVs, all the functional medicine testing. So one-on-one visits with me.
Love that.
Hyperbaric chamber. I mean, it's where you go to get back in balance. So,
Back in balance. I love that.
which is
Okay.
what we're always trying to do.
And we'll be revealing something. Dr. Sam and I are working on some really cool project ourselves, so we'll be revealing it in the near future. But thank you, Dr. Sam, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having
We
me
all love
again.
you.
I love you, and thank you for being in my life.
I appreciate that.
You know that.
Yeah.
Give me your hand.
Okay. This is a very
You
special
know,
moment.
This is a special moment. You know how I feel about your heart and how amazing you are.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you so much in my life.
I appreciate
You're
you
so
too.
special.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Sam, what an amazing interview. I told you that when you have that rapport, you can just really let loose. I really hope that you got to be inspired by a lot of what she was saying and some of the things that we connected with, our stories, and really just take the tidbits or the gems, whatever works for you, and start incorporating it. I love you all. I'm really grateful that you all are spending your time listening to the show. Truly, truly, truly. Of course, rate, review, subscribe, support the show. Let's send this to the moon. Much love. See you next week.